The Philadelphia Phillies have been officially eliminated from playoff contention this year and has left a lot of fans wondering what happened to the Philadelphia Phillies' 2-1 lead against the Astros in this World Series. So in this video, I'm going to break down the truth behind the Phillies' World Series collapse. So without further ado, let's get into it. What's up, baseball fans? Nick Gosse, host of Dugout Digest. And before I do get into the video, I want to thank you guys and welcome you to the channel. This is our first video. On this channel, we're going to be breaking down everything MLB, everything, baseball. If you're coming from the Jays Digest channel, it'll be a similar format to those videos, except we're going to be covering everything MLB and not just the Blue Jays. So welcome from wherever you're coming from, whether it's the YouTube homepage, whatever it is. Welcome to the channel. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Means the world. The videos are going to be coming out hopefully every day, every other day, whatever it ends up being. But we're going to be breaking down everything baseball. And let's start with the juicy topic. So let's get right into it. The Phillies were eliminated recently by the Houston Astros, falling 4-2 in the series. And this was a wild series, and it was a wild run for the Philadelphia Phillies. So obviously the Philadelphia Phillies were a wild card team. They were kind of the Cinderella story of the postseason, and a lot of people had them winning the World Series once they got there. The reason for that was because, you wouldn't think that they'd make it this far and fall just short, but that is ultimately what happened. Now, there was a reason for this downfall of the Phillies in the World Series, and I'm going to point to that reason in this video. A reason as to how the Phillies ultimately kind of choked the World Series. I wouldn't say choked, as the Astros were a phenomenal team and a World Series favorite this year. But I'm going to get into the truth behind the Phillies collapse there. So not as bad as the Blue Jays collapse in the wild card game, but we'll get into this collapse. So let's get right into it. We'll begin with a screenshot I'm going to pop up here now. So this is from JT Real Muto after the game, and this kind of, is foreshadowing what I'm going to be breaking down this game. So this is from Joe Siddle, Blue Jays guy, but just an MLB reporter, or, Sportsnet reporter. Quote from Real Muto says it all. Wheeler was incredible for us tonight. You have two lefties coming up in the next three batters. I'm sure that's the pocket they had circled before the game. Sound familiar? Too busy looking ahead and not seeing what is right in front of you. This is quoting a tweet from Chris Black saying, in the World Series, the Phillies are going to wind up losing two games where they pulled their best starters before they had given up a single run. I'm as analytics as they come, but that's pure lunacy. So this is all referring to the huge decision, which was, of course, in Game 6 when the Phillies manager took out starter Zach Wheeler and put in Jose Alvarado, the lefty, to face Yordan Alvarez in a critical piece of the game. So I'm going to quickly give you my opinion on that now. And then, of course, I'll break down. I have some video to show you guys and a couple of other, tweets and stuff like that. So first of all, this was really, we'll be focusing on the Zach Wheeler decision. Of course, there was the other decision that was mentioned by Chris Black there, but we're going to be focusing on the Zach Wheeler decision as that was what ultimately eliminated them from the playoffs. The decision was clearly, in hindsight, it wasn't the right one. But I still don't really understand why you would do that in the moment. So Zach Wheeler was dealing, and he's been your ace all year. He's been your guy. He's been your guy throughout the playoffs, and he has just been phenomenal for you. He's been phenomenal throughout his career, whether it was with the Mets, with the Phillies, whatever it was. But this year, he was dealing, and he was dealing in this game against the Astros, having not given up a run. And obviously, he got into a little bit of trouble, and Phillies manager pulled him for Jose Alvarado, which I'll pop up in a second. But I'll pop up the second screenshot here. These are Jose Alvarado's stats. He's a lefty for the Phillies. In 2021 with the Phillies, he had a 4.20 ERA. And then, of course, this year in the regular season, the top is regular season, and of course the bottom is postseason. In 2022, he had a 3.18 ERA and going 4-2. That is really, really solid. In the postseason, his postseason experience, obviously he played 2 games with the Rays. We won't really count that in the COVID year. And of course, he finished up the 2022 postseason with a 5.56 ERA in 12 games. Now, this is including the game where he had the collapse against the Astros. This includes that game. But before that game, he was hovering around a 4 ERA in the playoffs, slightly above 4 ERA at the time that the Phillies manager brought Jose Alvarado in. So he hasn't been awful the postseason, and he's been, solid at getting lefties out, but he's a guy with a, above a 4 ERA, and you're going to bring him in the most critical point of the season. I just don't agree with it. Especially when you have your starter rolling. Obviously, if Zach Wheeler was struggling prior to that, or he was struggling super high pitch count or something like that, then maybe you can justify bringing in Jose Alvarado to face Yordan Alvarez. Now, obviously, Yordan Alvarez is one of the premier hitters in the game. He's one of the best hitters alongside Aaron Judge in the game, and he's been, he was tearing it up the postseason. He had a postseason to remember. Um, but so like, why would you not leave your ace out there who's dealing? Obviously, you have the lefty on lefty, but Yordan Alvarez is gonna be, unreal at hitting, whether it's against lefties or righties. Obviously, you play the splits and you do all that, but I don't know. I would rather keep Zach Wheeler in there. So here's what ultimately happened as I'll pop up the video. So this is what led to it. Zach Wheeler is in. You can kind of see the video here now. This was a bit of a controversial play as well, as people, especially Phillies fans, were saying that, Martin Maldonado did not make an effort to get out of the way of the ball. And there was also a tweet made that in his first at-bat of the game, Martin Maldonado was much further away from the plate than he was in the second at-bat. So he made the adjustment to move closer to the plate. He was still inside the batter's box, but he made the adjustment to move closer to the plate, really for the potential to get hit, because Martin Maldonado is not a good hitter. He never has been a good hitter. He's a defensive catcher first. But as you can see in this clip, he is right up against the batter's box, and he pulls his arm back a little bit, but he does not really make an effort to get out of the way. But I don't know, the umpire didn't make a call to make him stay, which was called in the past. But Martin Maldonado, you could see that his goal was to, of course, get on first base for the top of the order. Now, this was Zach Wheeler, and this is ultimately what led to this. They brought in Jose Alvarado, and you can see what happens next here. Takes some 450-yard bomb to put the Astros ahead. And this was the turning point of, obviously, the series. This was what won the Houston Astros the World Series, as he takes a 99-mile-per-hour fastball, a bit over the plate on the outside corner, 450 yards, and this is what ended the Phillies' hopes and dreams, and obviously put the Phillies manager under the spotlight, because, man, you should have left Zach Wheeler there, and that's really the biggest reason and the real reason why the Phillies lost this game and ultimately lost the World Series. Because if they go on to win this game, and obviously it's all hypotheticals, we're just analyzing, and hindsight is 20/20 here. So obviously it's hard for a manager to make a decision like that, and it's one that they're going to be haunted with for the rest of their career probably. And it's a decision that's obviously extremely difficult to make, but it is not. I just don't think you take out Zach Wheeler there. Sometimes you have to use your eyes and stray away from the analytics. Zach Wheeler was dealing. He had given up no runs. Of course, he hit Maldonado and obviously another base runner or whatever. But, you got to leave your ace out there. And at least that way, if you lose the game and you lose the series, you lose it with your best pitcher out there rather than a Jose Alvarado. No discredit to Jose Alvarado, but, if you had a dominant left-handed pitcher, maybe even like a Josh Hader type or someone who, has been elite. Jose Alvarado has not been elite. Jose Alvarado has been, slightly above average in the regular season and, around average in the playoffs. But he is not a Josh Hader type where he will just go in there, an Edwin Diaz type, and you'll get him out. Obviously, you don't know you'll get anyone out. But in this case, it's like you leave Zach Wheeler out there and you play your chances that way. And at least if you lose, you left, on the high hill. You left with your best pitcher out there. So that's what I would have done. And that's really the truth behind their loss this year, and was the real reason that they lost that game and ultimately lost the World Series. And as the tweet said here, that's the wrong screenshot. As the tweet said there, they're going to wind up losing 2 games where they pulled their best starters before they given up a single run. Obviously, it happened twice, the second time being the bigger reason, because, it was what eliminated them. But it happened twice. As the Phillies manager, you have to leave your starter out there in that case. So I'm going to stop harping on the same point. But it ultimately led to this absolute nuke by Yordan Alvarez. I'll show it a couple of more times. Just absolutely crushed. And, shout out to Yordan Alvarez and shout out to the Phillies as well. They had a phenomenal season, from a wild card team all the way to the World Series. Up 2-1. Could have won the World Series if they maybe played their cards a bit better. But obviously, the Houston Astros are just a phenomenal baseball team, and it would have been really hard to beat them regardless. But obviously, some changes could have been made. But that's going to wrap up the video. I hope you guys did enjoy the inaugural episode on Dugout Digest. Hitting on a really interesting topic here. And hopefully it's one that you enjoyed. Obviously, again, I'm not hating on either team. Or I'm not hating on the Phillies for, their decision. Obviously, I'm not hating on their manager either. It was a tough decision. Just using hindsight, it would have been better if they kept their ace Zach Wheeler in there. And obviously, JT Real Muto wasn't too happy about the decision either, and he was a bit shocked. So Hope you guys did enjoy the video. Make sure you like, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We are a new channel. Leave comments on what kind of videos you want to see. We'll be breaking down all the news regarding the MLB and having videos like this as well. So hope you guys did enjoy the video, and leave any feedback you have in the comment section below. I'm always open to it. Hope you guys have a phenomenal day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.